You have to commit one crime, but by doing so, you ensure nobody commits that crime again. What crime do you commit? What's a fact you wish you did not know? What is an impossible question to answer? Why? When asked by a 4-year-old, any response will be met with, but why? When did you first learn your name? How old were you? Oh my god. Oh, no, I have no idea. That is crazy. Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell? I'm confused. Generally, when someone asks me what, I just repeat myself once or twice and they always seem to get it. What is the question? What? What is the answer? What? Honey, what do you want to eat for dinner? The one that isn't asked. How long is any specific coastline? Why is a raven like a writing desk? If you go faster than the speed of light and look backwards, what will you see? The light that you absolutely crop dusted. In the movie Predator, why does the Predator use broad spectrum visible red lasers to target when he naturally sees an infrared? What came before the Big Bang? The big date? Every question has an answer, some just don't have a right answer. What famous celebrity is actually still a decent human being? Steve Buscemi is a really down-to-earth guy. Bless his creepy little heart. I was a doorman in Tribeca for a large portion of my 20s. Met more high-end celebrities than you can count. From people who were in big Super Bowl commercials, C-list actors, up to Taylor Swift. I can confidently say that Chris Martin from Coldplay and Paul Rudd are two of the nicest guys I've ever met. I love Paul Rudd. It would be so cool to meet him. It's hard to imagine him ever being mean or rude. Hugh Jackman. I'm from Latin America, and one time I met him in a not regular place to tourism, all rural people, and I can talk with him in a coffee. He's a nice man and is very kindly. Weird Al Yankovic. Dolly Parton is and always was a saint. Just visited down by Tennessee and everyone absolutely loves her. Even today, she lives in a relatively modest home compared to her wealth. Like $1 million. Andre 3000 is a super chill dude. Walks around and is so unassuming you wouldn't know he's there. Saw him playing a wooden flute on the street in Philly. Said, "You're Andre 3000. He just tipped his hat and kept playing. Really cool guy, just living his life." My friend used to serve him at a restaurant and he would regular in Calgary. Nothing but nice things were said. What's something that's hated for no reason? Actors because of the characters they played. I read that the woman who played Bryan Cranston's wife on Breaking Bad still gets hate mail. I always thought it was really weird how in the 90s, every other cartoon's go-to target of hate were mimes. Wile E. Coyote. Personally, I hope he blows the Roadrunner to pieces. Black cats. They're so sweet and funny. Psychos go out of their way to hurt them, or some people think they're bad luck, so they're less likely to be adopted. Liking things meant for people way younger than you. My 17-year-old brother likes Thomas the Tank Engine. Has a huge layout with buildings, trees, storylines, the whole thing. My dad and his girlfriend refused to buy it for him and actively ridicule him for it. Like, what the f? Like, what the fuck is it to you? Cosplay. It's just makeup and acting? Literally everyone does it on Halloween, but once you put a name to it, it's weird? For real, it's just an art form. Sure, some people can be cringy, but the actual art itself is not. Beans and chili. People are either super against it or all for. If you're all against beans and chili, I think you're weird. Sorry. Without beans, the chili would just be meat and sauce. Meat with tomato sauce. Basic aesthetic. Not my style, but let people do their thing. Nickelback. I don't care for them, but they're hardly the worst band out there. Vegetarian options. Toyota Prius. It's just a car. Pineapple on pizza. I don't like it either, but why so much hate? What website did you frequently visit when you were younger? Neopets. Neopets.com. Best website back in the day. The one, the only, coolmathgames.com. Neopets. Yes. So true. Club Penguin. Also truer. Habbo Hotel. Poptropica. Rotten.com. Scared about that one. I don't know what that is. MySpace. What is widely considered a red flag, but actually is not? Not making eye contact doesn't mean someone is lying. Not responding to texts immediately. No, Brenda, I'm not ghosting you. I'm literally at work. No social media. Not responding to messages within 5 milliseconds. Not getting along with parents. Some parents are abusive, neglectful, or toxic to be around. And if an adult chooses not to be around that, good for them. Of course, if a person is actively awful to their parents, that's another story. Being independent, or even a loner. Sometimes we're just shy and have poor social skills. We're not creeps or weird. I just do my own thing and leave people alone for the most part unless they want me in their life. Living with my family in this day and age, it's just not feasible for everyone to have their own place. What's one old thing pre-2000s you want to bring back to now? Fun, fast food structures. They've turned all but one McDonald's in my town into some industrial gray building. The same for all the Pizza Huts and a few other places. Software to own, not rent. Now, not only you have to pay something every month, but features are added, removed, or changed. I have to keep learning new ways of doing the same task. Classic Cartoon Network. I also wanted to go back to the 90s when I was a kid. Yeah, wham, fucking wham. Cares. 90s weren't that great. Cartoons back then weren't that great. What, Ren and Stimpy? Ew, what? 2000s Cartoon Network's but was better than 1990s Cartoon Network. I'm saying it now. I say it and I'll die on that hill. I know Ren and Stimpy was Nickelodeon, by the way. It's just the first one that came to mind when I was thinking of bad cartoons. Being unavailable. I hate being on call 24/7. You used to be able to be out getting groceries or on a walk or whatever, and there was no urgency to answer to anyone. Now people are offended if you don't immediately respond to a text or call, especially since they added the feature where it lets them know where you read it. That feeling of going to Blockbuster on a Friday night and getting 2 new releases in a game that would define your weekend. My lack of back pain. Oof. What's the worst weather event you've ever witnessed? Hurricane Katrina. Lost our house for that one. Water went straight to the ceiling and broke the stairs to the attic, and everything in the attic came out. My brother actually took 2 huge containers of photos we had throughout the years spanning from the 60s to 2005 on a whim because he didn't feel right about the hurricane. Hurried up and put them in the back of the truck at the last minute, and now we still have hundreds to thousands of photos. Blizzard of 2000 in Illinois. I was snowed in at my best friend's house. The snow covered the tops of cars. The wind was so bad that 2 minutes after shoveling, the snow was back. Everything was shut down. No emergency services. No one could leave their house. People were camped out at the news station. When they were able to clear the roads, the snow on both sides were taller than a bus. A 2-day sandstorm in Saudi Arabia. Haboob. I was in a tent, so it was very haboob. Well, I got caught in the tornado in Gaylord, Missouri back in May, if that counts. That was a pretty rough day. I actually just drove through there today. Everything's recovering nicely from what I've seen. It's getting there, slowly but surely. Gaylord is quite a funny name, lol. Hurricane Katrina. Our whole neighborhood was evacuated for the remainder of the year. My dad made me come home and start fixing the house despite not having power and not much being open. I'd ride my bike at night, just street after street of empty houses and no street lights. To this day, the eeriest shit I can ever recall. Hurricane Harvey. Trapped in my neighborhood that's surrounded by a levee with my parents and 3-year-old. We have retention ponds just outside of the levee, and when they were full, they started backflowing into the neighborhood. Torrential rain, constant tornado alerts, a rising river, and the retention ponds. It was constant anxiety and fear of being completely trapped with no way out for days. I'm outside of Houston, so we didn't even get the worst of it. I'm still rather traumatized by what happened, and very few people know how bad my anxiety and depression got after that. My anxiety skyrockets when I get a bad weather alert, but I've learned how to manage it a little better these days. And now I'm a licensed independent adjuster. All lines waiting for Hurricane to arrive so I can head out to work at Cat Claims. Which is the greatest movie fight scene of all time? Subway fight scene in The Matrix. At the time, it was completely revolutionary and changed modern cinema with bullet time. Suddenly, and sadly, every action film was using it and quickly became a bit of a trope. Kung Fu Hustle. The entire thing. They Live. The alley fight scene. Gasoline fight in Zoolander. The scene in Ong Bak where Tony Jaa's feet are on fire. John Wick club scene. Basically all John Wick scenes, lol. Gangs of New York, the first fight. Obi-Wan versus Anakin. What do you consider to be the best sound you've heard? The sound of someone's heartbeat as you lay on their chest and the faint sound of their breathing. We get it. You're in love. F you. Sorry. The crunch underfoot that only comes from freshly fallen snow. Insanely loud thunderclaps. To be perfectly honest, the sound of wind. I love the sound wind makes, especially during a winter's snow. It's either that or boiling water. Nighttime in the middle of the ocean. The New York Symphony performing the 4 seasons. Even on record, it's divine. My cat's meow. He only meows rarely, and it's more a really high, soft half meow. It's like, meow, and that's it. He's so pathetically cute. During a summer night where the gray tree frogs are outside going, what was nice till it wasn't? Streaming services. Ellen DeGeneres. Liberal hero in the 2000s. We gradually realize she lies and is a boss. Joss Whedon. Boss. Any social media star will soon have a downfall. Growing up, it was fun when I was becoming a teenager. It's not fun anymore. Game of Thrones. Playing games. There's a certain point where you start raging and complaining. That's your sign to stop playing for now. Ordering stuff from Amazon. Conspiracy theories. Remember the X-Files? Batboy, Bigfoot, Clinton extraterrestrial connection? The National Examiner used to print Bigfoot love triangles, UFO, abductions, alien-human marriage. Now we have trash like QAnon, and it's just fucking depressing. Now I hate conspiracy theories and the ones who peddle it. What's the coolest object in front of you right now? My nut button, probably. My cat. I don't know about object, but our brand new puppy we just picked up today. A VHS VCR combo. My vertical mouse. It has really helped me reduce wrist pain. Guitar. A slinky. On my first date with my boyfriend, we both won slinkies at main event. Whenever I feel my anxiety coming, I play with the slinky. That's really cute. It's a snow globe with a kitty inside and golden snow. The kitty is always smiling at me while I work. What was the worst day of your life? It all started when I was born. When I had to decide to euthanize my dog of 13 years. Learning that the crush of my life also liked me back but lives in a different country. When my cat passed away, it's been more than a year, but I still think about him every day. What are you tired of seeing on Reddit? Rage bait. People almost always telling the OP to get a divorce and basically burn their whole life down over any and every relationship problem the person person may be having. People constantly misusing mental health buzzwords like gaslit, toxic, trauma. If you became your username, questions. The constant misuse of the term gaslighting. People throw it around so easily without knowing how complex and sinister real gaslighting is. Sounds like you're just gaslighting everybody into thinking it's not gaslighting. Questions like, what is your favorite song that inspired your username that men think about women but should be legal? It's all blurring together for me. All of the repeated sex-related questions. Look, I'm pretty. Pics. Posting on a news thread. I hate having to scroll through crap to find honest questions and debate. Someone pretending to want help naming a new pet. What is a red flag in the other gender? Flood through the comments to be the one to post about being rude to anyone providing you a service. Like, I get it, but do we really need that repeated for the millionth time? F***ing karma whores. Idiots getting gold or platinum for stupid comments that contribute nothing. Edit. I am not an idiot. The bots that ask super generic questions over and over again every single day. What is the greatest snack of all time? Cheese and crackers. Chips and salsa. You know who's got the most underrated chips and salsa out there? Chili's. Most of their food's not good. Chips and salsa from Chili's smacks. Nachos. Big old pile of fat, carbs, and salt. As simple or as complex as you want to make them. Perfect vehicle for guacamole. Salsa. Sour cream. Watermelon. Popcorn. Young and old alike. It is love. The flavoring, now that is another story. Cashews. Bread with cinnamon and sugar. People who grew up poor, you know what's up. Me. I'm the snack. Popcorn. I think popcorn's the correct answer here, honestly. Who is the greatest voice actor of all time? Phil Hartman. You may remember him for voices such as Troy McClure or Lionel Hutz. Mel Blanc, and it's not even close. Every other answer is silly for just existing. I feel like Seth MacFarlane is underrated. Dude can have a full-blown conversation between his characters without skipping a beat. I'm in love with J.K. Simmons' voice. This is a tough answer. I think you could make a strong argument that the greatest voice performance of all time was Robin Williams in Aladdin. But factoring in the range of voices, I think you'd have to go with Mel Blanc, maybe Frank Welker or Jim Cummings. Personally, I think Blanc could do so many voices with such varied energy, I'd have to say him. James Earl Jones, Darth Vader, and Mufasa are both timeless. The guy from Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane, Morgan Freeman. James Woods for his portrayal of Hades in the animated Hercules. What's the worst design thing that most people don't notice? Chairs with bad back support. They are everywhere and slowly crippling people. Shoes. Most of them will cause bone pain, blisters, calluses, etc. Bra. Women's pants. I can be a 4, 6, or 8 in women's pants, even if I go off measurements on a website. They won't fit me. Door handles. Facebook. The US voting system. Toothbrushes. They need lids or I don't feel safe on what creatures have had a stroll on it. Tom Holland's face. Jealousy is a stinky cologne. Windows operating system. Toilets are actually very counterintuitive to the West the human body works. What was normal in 2002 but not 2022? Getting chased out of a bank for wearing a mask. Cursing George W. Bush and hearing how Dick Cheney was really running the country. Ringback tones. Going home with your digital camera so you could upload the photos from your day to your computer and email them to your friends or upload to Friendster. In the UK at least, smoking in pubs. Flip phones. Hey, no, those have made a comeback. Frosted tips. Lindsay Lohan and Tila Tequila. What hobby will drain your bank account faster than a gambling addiction? For me, it's commissioning artists for Fakemon. I've spent hundreds of dollars. If it wasn't for this job, I would be in crippling credit card debt. Collecting and restoring cars. Warhammer 40k. Boating. As late 90s me, Magic the Gathering. Racing. I did some club racing with motorcycles, which is cheaper than cars. Even doing it on the cheap and help from my sponsors, I was spending close to $2,000 to $3,000 per race weekend. Scuba diving. Photography and or aviation. Collecting retro video games and consoles. It didn't used to be, but it's a combination of rise in retro popularity and when COVID forced everyone inside to find home entertainment. Drove the prices of this stuff through the roof. I'm an avid collector and it's starting to hit the wallet hard. Modern gaming is cheaper than retro. Horses, what the f? All these others are f***ing chump change. Restoring cars, come on. Marriage. I don't know if that's a hobby, my guy. I feel like children would fit better, but marriage is the gateway. What were you taught in school, which has now been proven as not true? Tongue has different taste receptors in each section. We have 5 senses. Pluto is a planet that you're supposed to eat 6 to 11 servings of bread, grain, and rice per day. 6 to 11? You wouldn't always have a calculator with you. Hey Siri, open calculator. Thank you. Reading makes you unsocial. My school did not have a book club. George Washington and the cherry tree. It's not real? Cursive is important. State capitals matter. Just about everything taught in physical education, and so much more that I forgot. You know, because it was so stupid and useless that slavery ended. Ooh, oh man. American history, the American dream. What are your thoughts on love? I don't know. I haven't felt it in a very long time. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. You only know when it's too late. For real. Love? Unrealistic and impossible as a feeling. Love is an act. It's acting upon and dealing with all the positives and negatives in a relationship while staying close to the one or group the act is projected onto. Love is not the answer, but the question. A beautiful message. A little overrated, not gonna lie. High risk, high reward. I don't know if it's worth the risk anymore. I'm tired. Social construct to make lust less gross. Well, aren't you fucking fun? Can't say. Donkey uses Reddit. People who don't ever want to have kids. Why? Have you looked at a child? They're horrible. I cannot afford a child. Zero desire. The thought of having to teach them how to eat, talk, potty train, etc. It's not for me. God bless everyone who does have them, but no, not for me. I can't even care for a houseplant. Quite simply, it doesn't appeal to me. No regrets. No rugrats. They are sticky and they scream. That is the biggest reason why I don't want kids is the screaming. I like to sleep in on weekends. Who doesn't? Oh my God, I love sleeping in on weekends. I absolutely love my life just as it is. Plus, I am of the opinion that you should really want kids before you have them. It's a lifetime commitment after all. Absolutely to that second sentence. Kids should be a hell yes decision, not we'll give it a try and see how it goes. It's a kid, not a juice cleanse. Never wanted them. Being pregnant sounds like a nightmare, and as does my entire life revolving around someone else 24/7. Some people with kids never stopped and asked themselves this question. I was the third of 7 children. We were raised in our mother's in-home daycare. I knew by the time I was 13 that I'd never have kids. I am now a 60-year-old and still child-free. Yes, this stance did end more than one relationship. Meat eaters. What type of meat, if any, is off your menu for ethical reasons? Any that comes from an endangered animal, e.g. tiger meat or any of the abhorrent extraction practices, e.g. shark fin. I know that the other types of meat I consume do not grow on trees, that something had to die for it to be made available. But there's a difference between killing an animal with a quick pressure gun and cutting off their fin and throwing them back into the sea to die, slowly and painfully. Primates, cetaceans, brain and lymphatic tissue of any animal, dogs. I don't eat pork or any pig meat. I used to work on a farm where I raised pigs, 5 adults and something like 40 piglets. I fell in love with them. I used to just go on of my off hours and hang out in the piglet pen. They would just leap all over me and give me kisses. They're massive smart. I can't eat them now any more or less than I don't eat dogs. They're untouchable. There was a runt piglet. I nicknamed him Slayer because he probably shouldn't have survived, but he did. He was hardcore, so I had to give him a hardcore name. He was a runt named Slayer. It perfectly fitted him. Ortolan. It's not tasty enough to make it worth the torture. Dare I ask what ortolan is? It's a small migratory bird, a delicacy in French cuisine. They are caught with nets, locked in a cage so that they gorge themselves on grain until they're fat. Then they're drowned in cognac to marinate the meat and cooked and eaten whole. The traditional way of eating them is covering your head with a towel so God doesn't see the indulgent and depraved thing you're doing. So that says something. Anything that is cooked alive. For me, anything still alive on my plate. Turtle meat, cause I like turtle. Cephalopods, those little suckers are smart, like at least dolphin smart. Shark fin. I won't support anything that is obscenely wasteful. When I was 14 and went fishing, my dad and I caught a shovel-nosed shark. Absolutely gorgeous creature. It was almost as big as I was. We took it home, and honestly, I thought it would feed all 8 of us. It was a holiday, so it was my family and my uncle's family. Anyway, dinner gets served. Everyone else had chicken, and I was served what I could only describe as cooked fish that looked like the size of maybe 2 or 3 big sausages. It turns out that only the tail meat is actually edible. I was mortified. Killed a giant animal only to eat basically 2 hot dogs worth of actual meat. Never went fishing with my dad again, because it turned out he knew that when I caught it, if I had known, I would have thrown it back. Octopus. I'm pretty sure these little homies are semi-sapient. Plus, when the space cephalopods show up, I want to be clear, I did not eat their little cousins. What was the most obvious "you're the asshole" you have ever seen on Am I the Asshole, excluding rage bait? That one dad who thought his daughter making money with an iPad she owned was irresponsible because she wasn't doing chores and that her art wouldn't make her money in the long run, even though she was a teen and already getting commissions. He stole her iPad and sold it. It was only after Reddit thoroughly reamed him that he relented slightly by buying her a lesser quality tablet. Bridezilla demanded that girl dye her hair a more natural color because being a natural redhead wasn't natural. The one where the guy thought his girlfriend, who was working to be a dermatologist, was being shallow for having lots of skincare products because she was pretty enough without them. So he bagged them all up and threw them out. She had her own bathroom. It wasn't like they shared one and he had no space. He threw out some stuff her deceased father had bought for her, as well as then questioned why she was mad at him. Dude, that's horrible. That's the worst one so far, by far. One dude was like, am I the for not promoting my longest serving overqualified employee and instead giving the job to my son who just graduated college? Dude got roasted and downvoted it to oblivion. The one about the bride who skimped out on providing food at her wedding to be able to have Mickey and Minnie make an appearance. Could the guests eat Mickey and Minnie? I have been in that subreddit for so long to the point I have more than one. one. Some guy uninvited his friend to his wedding because he lost his arm in a car accident, thinking he would take all the attention away from him and his wife. Someone got his girlfriend deported. A woman didn't let her brother, who hadn't slept for 2 days straight, get some sleep because her kids wanted to play with him. I left that subreddit yesterday. Best choice of my life. Best choice of my life is never joining it in the first place. This guy was upset that his sister disrespected their dad by telling him off and rejecting a wedding gift of a lot of money. He wanted to know if it was worthy enough to get back at her. Turns out the OP knew his father was involved in a lot of robberies and murders and killed a lot of people, and his sister found out only recently and was mortified. Not wanting the blood money and wanting to distance herself from the culture of revenge killings, she got out and moved away. OP wanted to know if it was kosher to do an honor killing, basically. He seemed very upset that most of Am I the Asshole, minus the mods oddly, was telling him off. Okay, asking to do an honor killing has gotta top this list. I kept thinking about the guy whose girlfriend spent her entire week's food budget to make a lasagna and offered her boyfriend some. He ended up taking the whole thing to feed his buddies, which left her with no food and no way to get food. I sure hope this was rage bait. Selling his brother's Pokemon cards for $5K, then not giving his brother the money back because he found them while helping him move. This guy, I want to fight this guy. You don't touch a man's Pokemon cards, first of all. And two, give him the money if you're gonna sell him. That's messed up. There was this girl who stayed at her boyfriend's house. His hobby was drawing a giant map, and she carelessly destroyed it and claimed he overreacted because the map wasn't from a real place. I don't know if this is on Am I the Asshole thread, but a male coworker had a crush on his female coworker who recently gave birth, to the point that he would steal her breast milk filled container in their pantry and drink it when she brought her baby with her at work. Commenters were saying that what he was doing was unhealthy for the baby, so he said that he will bring a straw next time to drink it. Which fictional characters are idolized by people who miss the entire point of their story? Greg Heffley. Guy's a little head. Tom from 500 Days of Summer. Really liked the character and could associate myself with him in my younger self, but he's living in his fantasies more than understanding his reality. Tony Soprano. Not fictional characters, but Bonnie and Clyde. Cool if you want to have an adventure with your ride or die, just don't kill 13 people while you're doing it. Holden Caulfield, the Catcher in the Rye. He wasn't being refreshingly rebellious. He was crying out for help. He was probably mentally ill and definitely emotionally scarred by his brother's death and the unhealthy way his parents handled that tragedy. Not actually fictional, but The Wolf of Wall Street, Jay Gatsby, Basil Fawlty. Hear me out. He's funny, obviously, but we're not supposed to feel sorry for him in any way. John Cleese often explained that Basil is supposed to be despicable. He is a snobbish, xenophobic narc who blames all of his faults on others and never learns. He's rude, he's violent, he exploits his staff. When you've worked in hospitality, you recognize his feelings towards guests from hell and you wish you dared to be as rude to them as he, but most people Basil is rude to don't have it coming at all. If you ever had a boss from hell, you can easily tell how similar they are to Basil Fawlty. Walter White. You're not supposed to root for the murderous, ruthless, self-centered, egomaniac drug lord by the end of the series. People do. The Greatest Showman. P.T. Barnum was a super effed up dude. Greatest Showman is the movie P.T. Barnum would have made about P.T. Barnum. Joker and Harley are still idolized as an example of crazy, passionate love, despite it being clearly established as an abusive relationship. It's a shame the movies had to cut out most of the really bad Joker abuse, because then maybe the point would be driven home. Food answers only. Where are you from? Pizza with extra crust with a side of honey to drizzle it on. That's a thing here. Is weed food? I don't know. Vegemite. Good day. Lumpia. No. Give me sissi. You want some lumpia so bad right now? I want some lumpia so bad right now. Philippines? Surströmming. Hell? Fish and chips. Cup of tea. Beans on toast. Nice. I'm from Black Pudding. Clam chowder. Garbage plate. I've always wanted to try garbage plate, but I've never been to New York. Red, green, or Christmas? This is what I came to post. Hello, fellow New Mexican. Hot dish. Oh, yeah, you betcha. Oh, I'm just gonna sneak past you real quick. Could you grab me the ranch while you're over there? Spam musubi. Oh, God, I love spam musubi. It's so good. I want to go to Hawaii so bad. Potatoes. Everywhere. Ireland, Idaho, the two eyes. I don't know. On the road to Mordor. What's taters, precious? What's taters, eh? You took like 27 different kinds of our pastries, molded them into some disgusting donut-y puff pastry, sugar nightmare. Just f***ing name them after our entire language. The disrespect, the mockery. Let you step on Lego bricks for life. Tried to convince myself Cronut was a country till I realized Danish. Haggis from Scotland. The only reason I know what haggis is because I watched the Scooby-Doo and the Loch Ness Monster movie when I was a kid. I would have had no idea that haggis was boiled sheep stomach. What is a myth that is passed from generation to generation and people still believe it? I got pregnant in 2002 and people legit told me that I shouldn't raise my arms over my head because the cord would wrap around the baby's neck. Not just great grandmas telling me this either. People at my restaurant job bust at me all the time for getting things off high shelves. Insane. Bulls become angry seeing the color red. Yep, for those wondering, it's how the fabric moves that makes makes bulls charge? I thought it was the spears and sticks they beat it with. Overcracking your knuckles will lead to arthritis. Ugh, I tried to crack my knuckles and it didn't work. Swallowed gum will stay in your stomach for 7 years. Never seen a single wad of gum in the hundreds of thousands of stomachs I looked into. Reading this, you could be a doctor or a very successful serial killer. My dad insisted that if you didn't dry your hair immediately after getting out of the shower, you would catch your death of cold. As far as he was concerned, letting your hair stay damp would immediately give you a respiratory illness. Similarly, putting away dishes that weren't completely dry would putrefy and poison someone. I know germ theory wasn't very well understood when he was a lad, but water was basically the end of all things as we know it to him. Edit, my dad is not Asian, German, Italian, other European, or strangely enough, a cat. That's enough to suggest this particular myth is a product of its time rather than a cultural phenomenon. If I get a raise at work, I'll pay more taxes and just make less money. That your generation is always the last good generation. My friend's friend hid a tab of acid in his shoe. It soaked into his skin and he is now in a mental asylum and permanently believes he's a glass of orange juice. Holy shit, I've heard that here in Hungary. In that version, it's a bald smuggler guy who hid the stamps under his beanie at an airport check and now all he can say is orange. If your eyes stayed open during a sneeze, those motherfuckers would pop right out. That's not something I want to figure out myself. That an ice cream van playing his music means he's run out of ice cream. Why are you on Reddit right now? I'm actually not on Reddit right now. I'm actually on Dropbox.com. So sorry to ruin the immersion. Bored at work? Came to say this. Just counting down the minutes until quitting time. No, I'm not. I'm working. Hey, me too. Except I'm not actually lying. Procrastinating leaving bed by endlessly scrolling Reddit. I like to get up a little early so I can scroll Reddit for a bit before I have to start my day. I'm pooping. I'm answering your questions. Asked my crush to hang out after the maths test and she said, wait, when's the maths test? And I'm panicking because I don't know if she wants to or not and if I'm making her feel pressured, so Reddit is distracting me. What's a dead YouTube channel that you miss? Creature Hub. Every frame a painting. The Kid of Random isn't dead, but it feels like it has after Grant died. Used to be my favorite YouTube channel ever, but all they do now is blend and microwave Legos. Mystery Guitar Man. I recently learned that he's moved on to directing actual movies, and he's directed a couple so far. I miss him, but I'm also happy for him. He seems to have successfully jumped onto the YouTube to Hollywood train. Regular, ordinary, Swedish mealtime. Total Biscuit. Christina Grimmie. The Engineer Guy. What should have never been invented? Pop-up ads. Even the inventor apologized for it. Double unskippable ads. Seems like people really don't like ads. Non-peel offable stickers. Dental insurance. Teeth should have been covered under medical insurance. Goddamn bioweapons. That is scary. Subscription to use features of a device you already purchased, like BMW's heated seat subscription. I happily could have lived in a society without Facebook having been invented. MSN was where it should have stopped. Microtransactions in games. Ketchup flavored ice cream. For-profit prisons. What's the biggest threat that mankind has right now? Antibiotic resistant bacteria is pretty scary stuff. If bees go extinct, it has a massive domino effect on the whole ecological infrastructure. Biodiversity collapse. It's a real thing and is the end of life as we know it on our planet. I'm not here to get into a vapid term battle. The global hellbent strive for infinite profits from a finite planet is stupid. Large corporations, they're the main contributors to pollution. Plus a lot of them bribe governments, which gives leeway for their corrupt practices. The metaverse. Anyone else getting the Black Mirror vibes behind the twisted VR innovation? What happens if Trump goes to jail? If Trump goes to prison? I win a $1 bet I made with my brother in 2016. Orange will be the new black. Hey, I see what you did there. He'll be the best prisoner. Most outstanding prisoner. There is no other prisoner like him. Tremendous prisoner. The jail will be running at a loss within months. Yes. Make sure he gets sent to a for-profit prison so he can bankrupt that system. The Apprentice. Prison edition. Nothing at all. A lot of QAnon dip***s will off with their tears. We dance. Yes, we do. Yes, we freaking do. Hell freezes over. Pigs fly. And Sandra McPherson from 7th grade will go out with me. This is the US politicians and the rich are basically above the law. Trump has skirted the law so many times, this won't be any different. Nothing will happen. You know Sandra McPherson too? The Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command with the voice of the archangel, and all the angels will sing Celebration by Kool and the Gang in unison. What is something humans should not achieve? Some machine that modifies people's memories. You could no longer trust your own mind. It would be terrifying. Time travel really would just mess up our entire existence. There's a theory that time travel would only work from the moment it was first used and onward, so you wouldn't be able to go back to a time before time travel was used. You would still very much screw with things, but not as bad as you could do without that limitation. Flying cars. Many people don't know how to drive as it is. World records for most hot dogs in the hole. That's your answer for everything. Stronger, or just flat out no more nuclear weapons. It's interesting and scary to think, by that push of a button, whole nation could be wiped out. That ship sailed when we split the atom, accessing a source of near unlimited energy and immediately started killing each other with it. Lol, atoms split, and the first thought was, we could level a city with this. We're interesting monkeys, aren't we? Robots robots indistinguishable from humans, mind reading, trillionaires. Who's the most overrated comedian? I loved Pete Davidson on the Comedy Central roast, but his special on Netflix was just Kind of the same for Ken Jeong. Fun character in Community, but stand-up is lacking in actual jokes. Lol, nobody seems to understand the term overrated, and instead of just naming comedians that are generally polarizing or disliked, sort by controversial. This thread is just 90% comedians nobody likes. Amy Schumer isn't overrated. Everyone already hates her. Benito Mussolini just never found him funny. He just keeps hanging around. Ellen, she just makes fun of people and then laughs. If you scroll down long enough, you will find your favorite comedian listed somewhere down there. James Corden. It's the same thing with Amy Schumer. Everyone hates James Corden. He sucks. Steve Harvey. How the hell did he become so successful being entirely unfunny? Andy Dick. I never understood how he got so famous. Some people simply like Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is the type of dude to have a dinner party and send out invites that say, Tyler Perry invites you to a party. Tyler Perry's house, thrown by Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry will make Tyler Perry Presents Pot Roast. Please RSVP to Tyler Perry. That's me. I'm Tyler Perry. Kevin Hart for sure. What's a fact you wish you did not know? 30% of people that report missing people end up kidnapping or murdering them. Locked-in syndrome is terrifying. You are alive and conscious, but have no way to communicate that or stop it. I seriously wish I hadn't seen all of those Mexican cartel videos. The level of creativity and evil is almost unfathomable. I read this book called Fever about doctors treating Lassa fever victims in Africa. There was a pilot who would fly dead victims to a city morgue for autopsies. The bodies were on a gurney in the back of a small plane. Sometimes the change in air pressure would cause air to expel from the lungs over the vocal cords, which would create sounds like moaning. And more than once, the air pressure caused the corpse's stomach muscles to contract and it sat up. That while it is true that normal Alzheimer's and dementia only happen at later ages, there exists childhood Alzheimer's and dementia too. So yeah, realizing that literally anyone can lose their mind and die as a husk of themselves just because of bad genes really with my mind. Edit. Who the hell put a wholesome award on this? There's a subreddit where people post pics of their poop. It's called Poop. I learned of it yesterday. After verifying that it exists, I wish I could go back to yesterday before I learned of it and never know this. In the good old days, we had ratemypoo.com. You could just randomly twist in such a way that you slice open your spinal cord sheath and depressurize your skull, forcing your brain to sag onto your spine. This has happened to George Clooney and Steve Kerr. While it's not fatal in and of itself, is usually treatable by patching the tear with patients' own blood, pain is so bad that patients will kill themselves. Clooney says that he sure thought about it. During 9/11, rescue dogs were being sent in to retrieve survivors. As the dogs kept bringing back dead body after dead body, some of the handlers had to go in to pretend to be victims as the dogs were getting traumatized at not finding anyone alive. The human anus can stretch to 7 inches wide. The actress who played Ducky in Land Before Time was murdered by her dad in a double murder-suicide before the movie was released. Yup. That's heartbreaking. That's actually horrifying. Pigs can shoot their own intestines out of their anus. I don't remember if it was because of constipation, abdominal strain, or a cough. Other pigs will chew on it. What are you sitting on right now? Chair. What do you mean? Chair. A land, my bed, my ass. Porcelain throne. Taking a oh, yes. Great for you. Mountains of student debt. Hey, congrats on less than $10,000 less. Shout out Joe Biden. That guy's all right. Top of the world. Dock of the Bay. I'm out. Have some vintage guitars from Fender and Gibson. Probably never sell. They will end up in my estate. My ceiling. Having tea parties on the ceiling. A broken down freezer in an alley. A hemorrhoid. What's the best TV show that got unfairly canceled? Mindhunters on Netflix. Great show and great cast. The show Forever. It was about an immortal medical doctor who doesn't know why he's immortal and he solves medical stuff. Freaks and Geeks. I'm pretty bummed we didn't get the last season of Glow. They started filming it and everything. Pushing Daisies. And it ended on a cliffhanger. Oh, My Name is Earl. Kim's Convenience. It really deserved a 6th and final season. Hannibal. Don't trust the bitch in Apartment 23. It was a gem ahead of its time. It fit right in with the scope of Broad City, Working Mom, Dead to Me, etc. But premiering in 2012 was really its only fault. The premise was relatable and broad enough to sustain a sitcom with delightful performances by the cast. Kristen Ritter especially shined as Chloe. She acted between depraved and capable of growth, and the writers were able to constantly ride the line between zany absurdism and pathos well. Also, James Van Der Beek, as a parody of himself, is hilarious and didn't get stale. I assumed it would. I am not okay with this. It was a very good show, lol. Last Man on Earth. Arrested Development. People of Reddit, what is something you believe you're in the top 1% of in the world? Last year, I listened to an old album by an old band, enjoyed it so much that when it ended, I put it on again. A few months later, Spotify sent me a message saying I was in the top 1% of listeners worldwide for that band that year. One time back in 2006, I was looking through the Guitar Hero leaderboards on Xbox Live and laughed top 10 and called them losers. Then I pressed next page. There I was at number 11, experiencing 367 days in a year. In 2012, when I was in the Navy, we crossed the international date line and tacked on an extra day to a leap year. If I just keep crossing the international date line back and forth, can I stop time? The amount of people on Earth that will see this post. Sometimes when my nose bleeds, blood comes out of my eyes. Hey buddy, I think you need to go to the freaking hospital. Fun fact, if you have a household income of $100,000 in a household of 2 adults, then you are in the richest 1% of the global population. Top 1% of first having an email address. First one was in 1981. Top 1% of first having a mobile phone. 1986, and still have the original number. This guy's got the phone number of 2. Choking on my own spit. A fucking legend at it. I have watched the first 2, How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda, over 70 times. Usually doing something else at the same time, but I generally watch and rewatch animated films to study the animation, and sometimes use the commentator's cut to help with that. These franchises happen to be my favorite. Did you know the color gold in Kung Fu Panda is deemed for only the Dragon Warrior, which is why Tai Lung's eyes are gold, and as he sees himself as the Dragon Warrior. I got a perfect score on the SAT. That's probably top 1%. I still play the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Lowest IQ. The fact you were able to write this points otherwise. Remembering birthdays. I still remember someone's birthday that I haven't talked to in 20 years. Yeah, very useless. I just want to add a birthday to your long list. 1603. It's not useless. It's really embarrassing to forget a birthday. That's actually my son's birthday, and yes, I will remember it forever. Plot twist. Sekolo 1603 is your son. You have to commit one crime, but by doing so, you ensure nobody commits that crime again. What crime do you commit? Lying under oath. Thereafter, all people have to tell the truth under oath. That's actually brilliant. Like, that's crazy smart. Great idea. What if by ensuring I'm simply making it legal and not a crime anymore? Murder a murderer. Rape a rapist. I would do that for the team. Take a bribe. Boom. Lobbying gone. Brilliant. Throwing a bar of soap at a moose out of a helicopter. It's a law. Not the hero we asked for, rather the one that we need. Easy. Litter. One food wrapper and I completely shut down the world economy as all sources of environmental waste cease to exist. Edit. Yo, some of the other people in this thread are psychopaths if their first thought was some of the other ones and they don't even think they'd hesitate. I was thinking something as impactful as possible without actually doing anything too horrible yourself. You could pick it up afterwards as well. Not use my blinker. BMW drivers are punching air right now. Which old movie is better than most movies today? Airplane 1980, Alien 1979. Perfect blend of horror, atmosphere, and fantastic production and design. Nothing much recently has been able to capture that lived-in quality Alien had. The Great Escape 1963, a true story edit add-on. Some like it hot 1959. Comedy is probably the hardest genre to maintain its relevance over the years. This movie is timeless. The Thing 1982. The good, the bad, the ugly. Oh, all about Eve. I love your guys' idea of an old movie. Makes me feel ancient. I was chatting about Harry Potter with my nephew, 18, and his friends, and one of them hadn't seen it. A part of me died when she said she wasn't interested in old movies. Excuse her, the last one only came out 11 years ago. Never mind. Hey, we made it. That's the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful night. Goodbye.